Ah, yes, technology, Bloom.
Yeah,
Sometimes she's a wicked mistress.
yeah. But it's the only way we can be talking to our friends like Lester right now.
Let's do this thing.
You got a team, here's a word to the wise. You want to dominate your league? Go to football, guys.
Football. I'm living in a fantasy. Football. Got everybody mad at me. Football. Cause every game I had to win. Football. I gotta be a champion. Football. I'm living in a fantasy.
The free agency frenzy is underway. We're talking about it plenty on our YouTube channel. Here it is, Football Guys. It's the Audible. It's Cecil, Lammey, and Sigmund Bloom. But Bloom, we're going to talk about running backs today. And the big one this morning, early this morning, is Aaron Jones. The revenge tour is going to start because Jones, not a Packer anymore. We'll get to Josh Jacobs later. Aaron Jones is now a Minnesota Viking.
Isn't it interesting? I think the NFC East does this a lot. I think the AFC East does this a lot. AFC North to a lesser extent. In general, you'll see it though, where players stay in the division. And I guess it's because these teams see the players twice a year, occasionally 3 times a year, and really know them well. And Minnesota, after they let Alexander Madison go leading up to free agency, that signing did not work out. At least letting Dalvin Cook go did work out. Move in for Aaron Jones, who was a really good running back last year when he was healthy. Now he was scheduled to get about $12 million from the Packers. They obviously liked what they saw, and Josh Jacobs better, who's basically on a year-to-year deal. And now Jones is on a year-to-year deal, just a 1-year deal for only $7 million, which is about the same as a 1 year of a lot of mid-level running backs. So we are seeing running backs getting a pay raise, Cease, and we are seeing them as a priority. Now, I don't know how much of this is a 1-year deal because there's not a lot at the top of the running back class, but finally, at least a little bit of respect for running backs.
We're 2 minutes in and I've already messed up, Bloom, because I should have began this show by asking the question, what is all this running back movement? I got 8 we're going to talk about today. That's not even all of them, okay? But what does this running back movement say about the draft class?
Right.
Which might not have a running back selected in the top 40 picks?
Right. Top 60. Yeah. I think that teams are looking at, and look, running back is a position where, so it's much more important to have a running back who's at least at the basic competent level when it comes to the jobs that a running back does than it is to have a running back that adds value over top of just doing a competent job, right? So I think a lot of teams are looking at their running back depth chart, Cease, and they're looking at running backs. We're probably going to see a ton of running backs in the 3rd and 4th round. And the reality is you don't want to have to count on one of those guys. If they come into camp and they're way ahead of the curve and they're ready to be trusted, that's great. But you don't draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round expecting him to play a big part in your backfield. So I do think you saw teams actually prioritize getting the running back. And, also we saw what's fascinating is actually some growth. We saw David Montgomery get $6 million a year last year. We saw Miles Sanders get $6 million a year last year. This year, Tony Pollard gets $8 million a year. DeAndre Swift gets $8 million a year. Roughly similar talents. So I do think you're seeing some growth, partially because of the lack of talent in this class, and partially because you just don't want a running back who's going to lose the game for you. They don't have to win the game, but they have to show up and do their job.
All right, let's talk about showing up and doing the job in Cincinnati. It's now Zack Moss. As I was waiting for Sam Darnold to make his decision, I knew it was going to be in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Sean Payton's not broke up about it. Allegedly, Lassie Bark, whatever you want to say. There's something coming, Bloom. I'll just leave it to that. Zack Moss. I saw you tweeting about him earlier.
Yeah.
So let's talk about him now.
Yeah, a really good move, I think, for the Bengals. They let Joe Mixon go. And look, just as a quick aside, Warren Sharp pointed this out, that why didn't the Packers and Bengals release Aaron Jones and Joe Mixon ahead of free agency when they could shop their services to a full array of teams that are looking for running backs? I don't like that as far as doing right by players, although Justin Fields wasn't traded before the beginning of free agency either. So Zach Hicks, Scott Barrett, Fantasy Points, always putting great data out there, showing the fit of Zack Moss in an offense that's going to run out of shotgun a lot, an offense that's going to have a lot of similarities in the running back role to the Indianapolis offense where Zack Moss revived his career. So Indianapolis, obviously Jonathan Taylor is going to be driving the train there, but Zack Moss is going to be a lead running back. And you have Chase Brown. We'll see what Chase Brown does in year 2, more of a home run threat. But Zack Moss, he was a 13th, 14th round pick in underdog drafts. He was about 164. I think that should be more like 6th, 7th round. You saw what he could do last year. We know this is a good offense, and we know they're committed to him at a 2-year, $8 million deal. And what's hilarious to me is the report was that the Cowboys were in on Zack Moss, still waiting for the Cowboys to make a move running back. The Cowboys were in on Zack Moss, but the 2-year, $8 million deal past their point of comfort. They didn't want to overpay. They didn't want to go to $8.5 million or $9 million. I mean, it's what you pay long snappers or kickers. And the Cowboys wouldn't do that to get Zack Moss.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's Dallas. Tennessee, speaking of former Dallas, it's Tony Pollard now. Derrick Henry maybe with the Ravens. It's not official yet, as of this live show, Bloom, or recording if you're listening to the audio version. So let's talk about Pollard now. Of course, crushing my Tyjae Spears hopes.
Well, not necessarily. I think if there's a limiting factor for Spears and Pollard, it is that the Titans offense is not going to be all that exciting, right? Will Levis throwing the ball to Nuke Hopkins and Traylon Burks and Chiggy Okonkwo. This is not going to be an exciting offense. So the pie for running back production is not going to be very big. But both of these guys are home run threats. I think for Pollard, what you like is he does have a running mate now in Spears, even though they're very similar to each other, almost interchangeable, where he hopefully will get some of those explosive plays back. He did play better in the second half of the year. It is a 3 years, $24 million at running back. I don't remember exactly what his guaranteed money was, but it is a commitment at the running back position. So they liked what they saw in Pollard as this team with Brian Callahan entering a new regime. The running backs don't look like Derrick Henry. They look like each other. This is still a team that's going to be picking in the top 8 or top 10 next year, but at least Pollard's going to be in a role that suits him. And look, Tyjae Spears was never going to get 300 touches. He's just not built for that. So this isn't really a hit to Spears' value. It's just reality.
I'll disagree on Spears, as far as the hit, and then, okay, 300 touches. How many backs get there now? Because Austin Ekeler, now with the Washington Commanders, how about that segue, Bloom?
There you go.
Is now looking to lead that team. I'll get to. There's a bonus player that I'm going to talk about, Bloom, that I'm very upset he's not in Denver. But that's for my very last running back that we'll talk about. But Austin Ekeler is there now in our nation's capital. And, it's just science. It's just science. What can Austin Ekeler do with the Commanders now?
Not much. This is really sad. There are a lot of running backs. We looked at what happened in the first day of legal tampering. I just like saying that, legal tampering. Civil War. Only option. So Austin Ekeler is going to get, it's bad, Cease, whenever they report the contract and it's one of those up to contracts. If it was a decent contract, they would just report the money. But Austin Ekeler, 2-year deal up to 11 point whatever million. It looks like he's going to get about 4.8 million would have broke the Cowboys bank to sign him. And Ekeler, I think the question for fantasy is how much of it was a declining running back and how much of it was playing through an injury? Because before he got hurt, he still looked like old Austin Ekeler. It was just for a blink, so you barely got to see him. But he's going to share with Brian Robinson. What we're learning also, remember this as we're getting all this free agent news. Remember which teams have new GMs, new head coaches. And so we're learning about Dan Quinn. Right, he's already signed 2 former Cowboys. Now you've got Austin Ekeler. This is on the offensive side of the ball, but you've got Austin Ekeler sharing with Brian Robinson, who really took a big step forward as an all-around back. So I think you have 2 all-around backs. Again, not a very exciting offense. Jaden Daniels, right? See, that's what we're looking at. As Marcus Mariota was just signed this morning to back up probably Jaden Daniels. Poor Sam Howell. He can't even.
There's a Sam Howell trade coming up.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the poor Sam Howell because he was bad, I guess. But
wait till you see where Sam lands.
Yeah. I mean, that's the sign, though. They really don't like Dan Quinn, the new regime. We really don't want Sam Howell to be our backup to whatever quarterback we're taking at number 2. But Austin Ekeler, this is just sad. You know why it's really sad, Cease? He barely got any money on his second contract. What was it, like 4 years, 24 million, something like that. So he's going to go down playing the first 3 years on an undrafted free agent contract, then an RFA, then his paltry contract. He's going to go down as one of the most underpaid players of this era. So that's sad, and it's sad for his fantasy value. A lot of players gained value yesterday. I would think Ekeler lost it.
What happened with Gus Edwards then? Because Jim Harbaugh
Right.
has a new battering ram.
Exactly.
Get on the Gus bus.
Blunt force trauma.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. And see, this fits perfectly into what I was just saying about Washington. New head coaches, new GMs, new regimes, and they're setting the tone at the draft, free agency. These teams can't lie. They can say whatever they want to say. When they sign on the dotted line, it shows you what they think matters. And obviously, if you're Jim Harbaugh, what matters is blunt force trauma. And I think you're going to see Gus Edwards, now 2 years removed from an ACL, getting as much work as he can handle. And all those other picks, we will learn what new regimes think of players that are carried over from old regimes, like Joshua Kelly and so on, Isaiah Spiller. Obviously, there's not a lot of hope for them to play ahead of Gus Edwards because they don't bring the lumber like Gus Edwards. So I think we all could see this coming. And it's very rare, Cease, that a team opens up free agency with like a 2-year, $7 million signing. That's their top priority. But that is the top priority for Jim Harbaugh on offense.
Yeah. So, and listen, Linda, listen to you talk about Josh Jacobs now, Bloom, because, there was a line, I guess, for Aaron Jones. Lots of Green Bay fans upset this morning. I get it.
Yeah, and Cease, and maybe it's because of the UTEP two-step, my connection to El Paso, love of my life, Kate, from El Paso. El Paso is a great place. Texas versus the nation. A lot of great memories of El Paso. Hopefully make some new memories in that great place. Sometimes, and Mixon too, these are players that outproduced rookie contracts greatly, gave the team a ton of surplus value over what they got paid on the rookie contracts. And you would think that in the case of Mixon, at least release him before free agency. In the case of Aaron Jones, we're talking about $5 million. I don't know if they approached him about a pay cut. I don't know if they approached him about restructuring. But this is a player that he didn't complain when A.J. Dillon was drafted. He never really he's always been a team guy. I don't know if it's because of the hamstring injuries last year, but Josh Jacobs comes in, and when Jacobs had Derek Carr 2 years ago, he was a fantasy sensation. He was a first-round quality running back. Now, last year with Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell, he wasn't. I have to think in this Green Bay running game, though, he's going to be a lot closer to that first-round running back than whatever he was worth last year. So I don't think you can overpay for him in a draft if you're taking him in the third round and the second round. Again, what's really fun about all these early best ball drafts going on over at Underdog is you can see what the fantasy football community thinks. And in the case of Josh Jacobs, if you were drafting before free agency, you could get him at the end of the 5th round. Whoa. Wow. Congratulations. If you did an early best ball draft, you took Josh Jacobs and Zack Moss, you're cha-ching. And now Josh Jacobs should be a 3rd round pick, maybe a 2nd round pick. And Green Bay also protects themselves by giving him basically a year-to-year deal.
Saquon Barkley. I think it was our dear friend Mike Tanier. Everyone subscribe to his Substack, by the way. He said, someone check on Howie Roseman. Please, someone check on Howie. Hey, if it doesn't work with Howie, you know what Howie's going to do? Wash it away, because that's what Howie does. Now he's rolling the dice on Saquon Barkley, hopefully not washing that one away.
I like this move, Cease.
Why do people not like it then?
I don't know because
the Eagles got by with average running backs behind an awesome offensive line.
Exactly, because it's minimal running back era. Who's going to help you win? Let's keep in mind what running backs cost in an absolute way across positions. Who's going to help you win games more? Saquon Barkley or Gabe Davis?
Saquon Barkley,
right? This seems elementary. So top of the market running back salaries is still a role player. Gabe Davis is a role player. And what you have with Saquon Barkley, I know immediately in fantasy football, we get into the weeds, right? Oh, the tush push. How many rushing touchdowns is he going to get? Oh, Jalen Hurts doesn't like to throw to running backs. How many targets is he going to get? Yeah, but when have we ever seen Saquon Barkley in anything resembling the Eagles offense in the NFL with that offensive line, with an actual offense? Now, granted, we're doing the solve for X. Solve for X is how much has the Giants offense held back Saquon Barkley? But he was going in the late second round, and sees just the amount of debate yesterday once he was signed of whether this is good or bad for him. Look, who cares about rushing touchdowns? Who cares about targets? He's in a good offense with a good offensive line. That's what matters. You should not temper your expectations. I have seen some of the optimistic projections saying, why shouldn't he be the number 2 running back off the board behind Christian McCaffrey? Now, I'm not saying that should be the length that people go to, but it's within the range of outcomes. And again, late second round, I think it should go up if he's still there in a week or two and you're doing drafts. I think he's worth that shot. I'm excited to see it. And I applaud the Eagles for changing things up, because they've usually been pretty smart about how, well, smart NFL terms, offensive line, defensive line, build from the trenches out. And I think the term I saw, I can't remember who put it out there, Cease, was this is like an art collector, a high-end art collector tendency, So good. We should all have some high-end art, or even some prints of it if we can.
Yeah, something. I do love Howie Roseman. Bloom, as we wrap up today's program, and I'm going to have to go because, like I said, something's coming. So we'll be reporting on that later at footballguys.com. I wanted to talk about the one back that got away. Antonio Gibson.
Yeah.
He's really good. He's much better than Washington ever really gave him credit for. Now with New England, we don't know yet if New England's going to get their guy, because from what I know, they want Jaden Daniels, and he totally wants to be there, as he said on Twitter. But he's not going to be there because Washington's likely to take him at 2. So then that means Michael Penix becomes their option, probably, or hopefully for them. What I'm told is at the end of the first round. We'll see if Penix lasts that long. He should, even though his medicals were excellent and his arm talent is elite. So what helps a young quarterback like a Michael Penix for New England? Well, it's Antonio Gibson. It's a guy like that. Guy that can do anything. Guy that can line up anywhere on the field. And yeah, I'm a little disappointed because the Broncos, even with a perhaps Sam Howell, even with that, they'll take J.J. McCarthy or move up or whatever, get Bo Nix, whoever. You're going to need a better ground game than Javonte and Jaleel McLaughlin. That's where a guy like Antonio Gibson would have made a lot of sense. But New England gets him instead. So, Bloom, I'm happy for Antonio. I'm sad for myself.
Yeah, modest deal. 3 years, $11.25 million, I think. I don't know, it's $5 million guaranteed or something. He's got a versatile skill set. I guess the question we have about Antonio Gibson, Cease, is, was he ever truly given a fair shake in Washington? Did they ever really commit him to one role for one season, one coaching staff, right? So I think physically we know it's all there. He did become a more rugged runner, and he certainly can contribute in the pass game. Heck, he's one of their better wide receivers at this point in New England. So let's get to work on the wide receiver group for that quarterback, whoever it's going to be. And Antonio Gibson, a bit of a footnote, and certainly with Ramondre Stevenson there, he's not going to overtake Ramondre Stevenson. But you certainly see, even though without Bill Belichick there, it's not going to be as conservative and traditional. But still, it's going to be a backfield-led offense in 2024.
We're not quite to 20 minutes. How are you, Bloom?
Oh, great. It's invigorating. This is an invigorating time. Kudos to the NFL that in the middle of March Madness is going to start. Playoffs are getting ramped up in NBA, NHL. Baseball's about to start. And every front page headline is about the NFL and the legal tampering period. But it's just so compelling to see how these teams go about their business and to see what folly David Tepper is going to tee up next.
Now, speaking of folly, Ian Rappaport at Rap Sheet 2 minutes ago, plot twist, the Bengals are now trading Joe Mixon to the Texans rather than releasing him. So Zack Moss and Cincy, like we said, Mixon traded to Houston.
Yeah, it's a fine move. Mixon didn't look washed last year. Remember, one of the things that's happened over the last few years is with the cliff for running backs was 30, 31. Now it's like 28, 27. But is it really? We'll see. But I think that for Houston, they didn't get Saquon Barkley. They were connected to him. Joe Mixon at least is going to be a useful back, probably an upgrade from what we saw from Dameon Pierce. They don't bring back Devin Singletary. Derrick Henry's still out there. Watch the draft, but I think that's fine when you have a young quarterback like CJ Stroud.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. And then we'll see what happens with all this other quarterback stuff. We had some dominoes fall.
Hmm?
Perhaps that's what we'll talk about on Thursday, Bloom.
Love it.
All right. Gotta go. See you when I see you. It's the Audible. Why don't you check out footballguys.com. Bloom, we got all sorts of great stuff for you at footballguys.com.
Oh,
Including our
yeah.
rookie draft guide.
Yep,
Right?
just updated and free, and tons of reaction from Bob Harris and the great staff here as these moves come down. On the Couch will return next week with Matt Williamson, 2 Yinzers, and it's the cease. Week 1 of the NFL is almost 6 months away, but football fans are excited to be football fans right now.
Yes, I will be at Wyoming's Pro Day and Colorado State's Pro Day. I don't think I'm going to Michigan's Pro Day, although I probably should, Bloom.
Yeah.
Consider that what you would like. Anyway, he's Sigmund Bloom. Follow him on all the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at The Audible, saying thanks for watching, everyone. We appreciate you very much. Help us out. Check out footballguys.com. Stay tuned. And as always, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And stay frosty.